through an HTTP request. So what we're going to do today is Perplexity. So I'm sure you guys have heard a lot about Perplexity. Basically helps you search the internet. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. I'm just going to add an HTTP request node real quick. Obviously, this is what we're going to configure, and we're going to do so by looking through the Perplexity docs. So first thing we want to do is we want to generate an API key. So I'm going to grab a key, and I'll just copy this in real quick. And then what we want to do is we want to go to docs. So up at the top, we have docs. And like I said, the point of this series is just to understand, no matter what API you're looking for, being able to connect to it, understand how to get information back, right? So cool. We have our endpoint that we can connect to. Here's the base URL, as we can see in the curl. We love curl because then we can just paste it right in. So let's just do that real quick. We're going to copy that. I'm going to come into here, and I'm going to import curl. So there we go. Now we have, in this case, we have a header authorization, which is authorization, then bearer space token. And the last one I showed you how you can do that with a generic credential type. You can predefine, select it, and then you could create a Perplexity key right here. I'm not going to do this in this video. I just did it in the last one, and I'm only not doing it because you guys know my key, because I just basically showed it on screen. So I'm going to paste in the API key there. So we have bearer space API key. That's how we authenticate ourselves. Here's the base URL. Here's the endpoint /chat/completions, as you can see right here, which means that we're going to be generating a model's response for the given chat conversation. It's going to be a post request. And now we can see what else is required. So the first thing was the authorization, of course. Second thing is within the body, we need to send over messages, which is an object, and a list of messages comprising the conversation so far. And then we have model, which is also required, which is the name of the model that will complete your prompt. And then we have other things that we can set up, but these are the only ones that are required. So let's go back and look at the Perplexity curl request that we put in here. We're sending over JSON body. So what we can do is just come in here and we can set up this kind of stuff. So we have model is using sonar, so we'll just leave that as is. And then here's the messages parameter, which was also required. And it's an object that has, the system role, and it has a user role. So how many stars are there in our galaxy? And then the system role is be precise and concise. So that's all we need as far as like actual required fields. These are the ones that we can change, like temperature, return image is false. That's a Boolean. This is null. Return related questions false. Search recency filter. But anywho, we'll test this out. Okay, so what was our issue here? Validation error. Search recency filter must either be hour, day, week, month, or year. So as you can see in the bottom right here, it's just listed as a string. So it's telling us to fill in these parameters. What we're going to do is we're just going to type in hour because it says those are the strings we can choose from. And then we'll test it again. We should be good to go this time. Boom. So we got the model is sonar. It used 14 prompt tokens, 52 total tokens. We have 5 sources of citations here, which are all URLs, I'm assuming, about, the galaxy, because our search term was, so, oh, that's scary. The James Webb, that's a telescope, right? Of asteroid that could strike the Earth in 2032. Yikes. Anywho, that's because we put the system or the role prompt. Goodness gracious. The user role was how many stars are there in our galaxy. So that's what it was searching for. The content that comes back is estimates suggest that there are approximately 200 to 400 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy. However, this number can vary based on different studies and methods used for estimation. So this one is similar to Tavily. As you guys have probably seen, I've used Tavily a lot. I like Tavily more than Perplexity. It's also cheaper. And I really like the way that it pulls back information. So I like Tavily, but Perplexity is very common. A lot of people have used it. So if you've seen like people connecting to Perplexity, that's what's going on here. But super simple, right? The documentation is really good. Nowadays, a lot of these API docs have curls, so that's great. But if it didn't, same process, we would get the base URL. We would connect to this endpoint. We know what's required. We know how to set it up because this one says header. This one says body. We see that the content type coming back is application JSON. Luckily, in this case, okay, yeah, right here, application JSON. In this case, we didn't actually have to specify that as a header parameter. Sometimes you would come into the headers and you would say, let's actually just grab it. You would say content-type, and then you would put application/JSON, and then you can test that out and it would still work because it's sending over, we talked about how HTTP requests typically are sending things over as JSON. So this is like the actual request. This is the response from the API. And then of course our, what's it called? Our request is a post request, and this is what we're sending over as well. So JSON, that's why right here we have content type is application JSON. Yeah, that one's pretty straightforward. What else is there on Perplexity AI? It's pretty much just, that's our only request, as you can see right here in this documentation. So very simple. We would just obviously change some of these parameters as far as max tokens. We could set a max. We could set a frequency penalty. We could change the format a little bit. We could get images back if we want. As you can see, it's a Boolean, so it can only be true or false. So, just understanding how to read this stuff. We can set how many responses we want to get back. And cool. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So hope this one was helpful. Hope you guys can get in there and connect to Perplexity, try out some of these requests. But thanks, guys.